Computer, max warp to Klingon space, and ignore all hells that aren't Klingon or Federation until we get there.
Yes. Oh, brilliant one.
Cut the sass or I'll cut your circuits. Well, until I get there, I present to Noah in the next episode, Symbiosis. We start with Picard, dropping exposition by way of addressing the crew. The sun in the Delos system is producing large, violent flares, and they are there to observe them. The ship is also at yellow alert, as the task itself is likely to be a bumpy one. But the solar activity is actually off the charts, and all over the place. The deflectors are hit with huge bursts of X-rays, Wesley says. Look out, it'll see the ship's bones. This somehow overloads Wesley's console and systems all over the ship. Some poor girl ups the deflectors and gets tased for it. Just then, Worf picks up a distress signal. It's fuzzy, in and out, but it's someone named Tajan on an Ornaran freighter that's falling out of orbit into the planet Brekka, and he's begging for help. Epic titles. When we return, they approach the freighter. It's very old and has minutes left before breaking up. The extreme magnetic activity of the star is messing with the Enterprise's scanners and other systems, but there looks to be 6 people on the freighter. Tajan says his shit is wrecked and he can't do anything about it. But he seems off, slurring his words and seemingly in and out of coherence. He seems drunk if I had to guess. They try the tractor beam, but the solar flares are disabling it. Data realizes the freighter is having a problem with a simple coil, and they offered a beamer replacement over, just for Tajan to ask how to install it. This perturbs Picard, who wonders aloud how he can captain a vessel he knows nothing about. Picard decides to just beam the people off the ship, which is easier said than done given the current circumstances, and Tajan making it as difficult as possible. He's acting like someone got a 4-year-old drunk, and he beamed over his cargo instead of his crew as his freighter is breaking up. Yar is able to emergency beam 4 of the 6 crew over just in time, but all they care about is the cargo. More than their dead friends, and more than their own lives. Well, the dirty ones do anyways. It appears that 2 survivors are much more affluent, wearing shiny clothes and making pretentious stuck-up faces. Especially the love child of Tom Petty and Richard Hatch over here. The cargo of space heroin or whatever becomes a point of contention as the dirty addicts, called the Ornarans, claim they paid for it, but the snobby Breckons say the payment blew up with the freighter. The guy playing Tajan is leagues better as an actor than the other guests. He has the tics of a withdrawing addict down solid. The fight gets heated, and they zap each other a little bit before Yar tells them to knock it off. The 2 races appear to be similar species with the same natural electrical discharge ability, like a built-in power glove. In the observation lounge, Tajan says they need the cargo. It's a matter of life and death, that it's medicine, and the Breckons say, too bad. The Ornarans say they're suffering a plague, and that cargo is their only hope. The Breckons even confirm this, but say the medicine is hard to get and make, bro, so, profits. Turns out, Starfleet ran into these races over 200 years ago and noted their technological progress, but it seems they've stagnated since then, as one race has become focused on the consumption of space smack, and the other is solely focused on manufacturing it and their dependency. The Ornarans are jonesing. Bad. The withdrawals are likely even deadly past a certain point of dependency, but losing long-term customers is meaningless compared to losing short-term profits to these Breckons. Oh yeah, that's business 101 right there. Picard doesn't understand, and assumes they brought a plague aboard the ship, and declares a medical emergency. But all the scans come back clear of bacterial or viral infection, even if the Ornarans show signs of disease with no obvious cause. It's a mystery to Picard, but that's because he didn't party like I did as a teenager. I get the impression this guy got his kicks finding crazy dangerous aliens and quoting Shakespeare at them. He tries to mediate between the quickly degrading addicts and their pushers, without realizing he's brokering a drug deal. Sobi reveals this is some potent shit, effective for up to 72 hours, refined over centuries without the DEA kicking in their doors. And like the weapons planet in the last episode, this is their only industry. Their society lives solely on the suffering of the other. Tajan and co. shoot up in front of the doctor, who literally still has to think for just a second to put it together. She tells Picard the substance Felicium is a narcotic, and the Ornarans are junkies. Alright, let's test this thing out. Computer, start program Girls Gone Wild Spring Break 98. When we come back, the Doctor is upset over the exploitation of addiction, and Picard seems checked out. It happens all the time, he waves, saying they're symbiotic, but Crusher points out it's more parasitic. She wants to synthesize a space methadone to help wean them off of space heroin, but Picard says, why? Because we don't like it? No, because it's the right thing to do. This is all kinds of fucked up. Oh well, as long as he stays this staunch and sticks to his guns and never bluntly states, fuck the Federation rules and orders, I'm doing what I want for a hot chick. At some point in the future, maybe for a movie or an insurrection or something. Crusher is rightfully pissed, and Wesley ruins the entire episode, saying, I can't understand why anyone would willingly do drugs. Causing Yar to give a Reagan-esque Saturday morning public service announcement to just say no. And Jesus Christ. If you can get through this, congratulations. You have literally seen the absolute worst thing ever in Star Trek. Even if some floating face of Santa said it was God and was asking people for a ship, it would still be better than this. Even Data side-eyes her like, are you for real right now with this Seventh Heaven bullshit? Back with Picard, he tells T'Jon that he can't give them the medicine. So T'Jon takes Riker hostage with his hand taser, threatening to kill Riker if they don't give him the medicine. Merrick is by far the best actor here that isn't named Patrick, and this scene between them is the best part of the episode. And we only had to suffer Nancy Reagan Yar to get here. Picard says you won't kill him, and T'Jon just lets Riker go. Well, that's bloody lucky. I'd be pissed if I was Riker. Regardless, Picard is standing firm. He won't help them in any of the many ways he has available to do so. Picard is a monster in this episode. But so are the Breckons, who we learn also got the plague centuries ago and broke the addiction, but never warned the Ornarans, and are well aware that they are just drug lords that gaslight, manipulate, and even chemically force through potency their customers' addiction. In fact, they're giving the Ornarans the Felicium on credit this time, just to ensure they don't break their dependency before they can afford more. The captain still won't do anything to stop this either. Crusher does call them out for the monsters they are to their faces, and it appears the Breckons are interested in beaming down to Ornara to see the condition of its people, which is a very tiny softball by the writers to insinuate that slow change will eventually maybe be on the horizon, hopefully. Picard also tells the Ornarans he can't give them the replacement coils, and they'll have to learn to fix theirs on their own, with Crusher hoping this will help break their addiction when they're no longer able to procure their stuff the next planet over. But nothing will make those guys learn how to fix a starship faster than needing their space heroin a planet over. They all beam away, and Crusher is hella disappointed. As am I. Picard tries to defend his decision by saying they must adhere to the Prime Directive to the T, 100% of the time, every time, and fine, whatever. As long as you never throw it out because you want to Baku some lady. Whatever. This ending is so terrible and mean-spirited that Picard literally says, I don't care, just take us somewhere else, when Geordi asks, where to, Skip? Set warp for a less depressing episode. Engage. Real time. Symbiosis, originally airing on April 18th, 1988, delves into themes of addiction, exploitation, and the ethics of intervention, and stands out for its bold exploration of the Prime Directive, Starfleet's non-interference policy in the development of alien civilizations. Picard and crew are faced with a moral dilemma. Should they intervene and expose the truth, potentially disrupting a societal balance, or uphold the Prime Directive and allow an exploitation to continue? The concept was developed by writers Robert Lewin and Richard Manning, who wanted to create a story that paralleled the real-world war on drugs and would highlight the delicate balance between helping others and respecting their autonomy. The writers intended to show the consequences of addiction not just on the individual, but on entire societies and the moral complexity of intervening in such situations. The episode's script underwent several revisions, particularly concerning the depiction of the Ornarans and Breccians. Early drafts of the script were more explicit in drawing parallels between the drug trade and the relationship between the two species, but concerns about the tone and messaging led to a more subtle approach in the final version. Maurice Hurley, who had recently worked on Miami Vice, wanted to have the Enterprise come across a drug deal in progress, and was the man responsible for the insertion of a just say no style speech by Yar, which came at the objections from the cast. Wynn Phelps, a dramatic television veteran with credits on shows like Hill Street Blues and St. Elsewhere, was brought in to direct, recalling that there were numerous continuity issues throughout filming, with character motivations changing from one scene to the next. Because of changes to the script, the actors were often acting scenes that they had not seen the script for before the first take. Symbiosis was filmed after Skin of Evil, making this the final filmed episode with Denise Crosby as Yar, until she reappeared in yesterday's Enterprise. Towards the end of the episode, as Picard and Crusher leave the cargo bay, Crosby can be seen waving goodbye to the camera behind them as the bay doors close. LeVar Burton later used behind-the-scenes footage from this episode in a feature on his show, Reading Rainbow. Patrick Stewart was at the center of the moral dilemma, and his portrayal of Picard's internal struggle was both nuanced and compelling. The guest cast included Judson Scott as Sobi the Breccian, and winner of the Best Name Award, Merritt Buttrick as T'Jon the Ornaran. Buttrick was already familiar to fans, having played David Marcus, the actual son of the legendary Captain James Tiberius Kirk, in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, where he fucking died. Buttrick's performance in Symbiosis was particularly poignant, as he was actually battling AIDS at the time and sadly passed away shortly after the episode was filmed. Judson Scott, who also appeared in Star Trek II as Khan's right-hand man, brought a cold and calculating demeanor to Sobi, making him a fitting antagonist. The most significant theme in Symbiosis is the ethical dilemma surrounding the Prime Directive, representing the idea that advanced civilizations should not impose their will or values on less developed ones. However, this episode challenges that ideal by presenting a situation where non-interference perpetuates suffering. Picard's decision to uphold the Prime Directive, even when faced with the knowledge that the Ornarans are being exploited, is a difficult one. The episode forces both Picard and the audience to confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes doing nothing can have severe consequences. This is a classic Trek conundrum, whether to act on moral principles or to adhere to a broader ethical code, even when it seems to conflict with those principles. Okay, it's a trope. The depiction of the Ornaran's addiction also serves as a commentary on the nature of dependency and the ways in which it can be exploited. The Breccians' willingness to continue supplying the narcotic under the guise of medicine reflects the real-world issues of pharmaceutical companies profiting from addiction. The episode aired during the 1980s, a time when the war on drugs was a significant social issue in the United States, and can be seen as a critique of the complicity of those who benefit from others' suffering. Another theme explored in Symbiosis is the concept of relationships, hence the title. However, the episode presents two societies that have become dependent on each other in a way that is harmful rather than mutually beneficial. This distortion of a natural symbiosis into something more parasitic highlights how relationships, whether between individuals or societies, can become toxic when power dynamics are unbalanced. The production was not without its difficulties. The first season was notorious for its growing pains, including budget constraints, tight production schedules, and the challenge of establishing a new identity in the wake of the original series and its still ongoing films. Filming presented these familiar challenges, particularly in terms of the special effects required for the space rescue sequence. The freighter's fiery demise was a highlight of the episode, and the team at Industrial Light and Magic, who had been responsible for many of the groundbreaking effects in Star Wars, collaborated closely with the show's visual effects supervisor, Dan Curry, to achieve the desired result. The costumes were also notable. The Breccians' sleek, sterile clothing reflecting their affluence and control, and the Ornarans' more utilitarian attire emphasized their subjugation. Costume designer William Ware Thies, who had been with the franchise since the original series, created the distinctive looks for both species. The writers were also mindful of the need to avoid making the episode too didactic or preachy. Striking the right tone was essential, as they were making a direct commentary on contemporary drug issues, and they needed the episode to maintain a sense of timelessness. The episode received mixed reviews upon initial airing. While some praised the episode for its thought-provoking themes and strong performances, others felt that it was overly moralistic and that the resolution was unsatisfying, with audiences warming to it as time marched on. The themes of Symbiosis continue to be relevant today, making it a timeless piece of science fiction that invites viewers to reflect on the ethical complexities of intervention and the responsibilities of those in power.
Arriving in Klingon space. What now, Einstein?
We shouldn't have to wait long until one of these rowdy motherfuckers.
Proximity alert.
Right on cue. Hail them.
Hello and welcome to the glorious... Oh, it's you. Damn, dog. What happened to your ship?
Oh, just...
And your hair.